What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to delve into my 1/4 scale collection. Now I have to tell you, I've really fallen for this scale and I love the presence these pieces have in person. So in this video, I'm going to give you some insight as to why I love this scale for Hot Toys, whilst giving you two different display options for each piece that I have. But before we get started, if you like my content, do us a favor, hit that like button, notification bell and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get to it. Okay guys, to kick this off, I'm going to start with the very first 1/4 scale figure that I added to the collection, and coincidentally the figure that inspired me to start my YouTube channel. The Tech Suit Spidey with the Vulture diorama base from Spider-Man Homecoming. Some of the things I love about the 1/4 scale figures, and especially this piece, is the body proportions and attention to detail. Add to that the diorama bases that accompany them, and boom, you got a winning combo for me. As mentioned in the intro, I've done two different poses for each figure, showcasing two different looks with the goal to capture a moment of the character and be a realistic looking safe long-term display option, all the while showing you some different viewpoints of each look. So, touching on this mask look here, I've gone for a simple looking setup having Spidey just standing there looking down with his fists clenched. I think this pose will look great displayed higher up in your collection space, so you're looking up at him. Now, I gotta tell you, whilst it doesn't look like a super difficult pose to pull off, this actually took me a while to get it looking as natural as I think I have him here. However, that's one thing I love about this scale. In person, when you do end up getting it looking like you want it, it can look like a shrunk down version of the character, and that's awesome. Moving on to the second display option here, I've switched out the mask for the Peter head sculpt, and I'm utilising some accessories with him holding his mask and wearing his backpack over his left shoulder. This isn't even scratching the surface in regards to all of the accessories he comes with, might I add. This whole piece comes with a lot of goodies you can use when posing him up, and I love that. Now, with the first look, I had him standing and looking down, so with this one I thought I'd have him walking forward cautiously and looking up, much like he's looking out into the darkness. I've also switched up the lighting for this one, as I do like it a bit darker for this scene, and I also think that helps accentuate the glow from the lights at the base. It is very tempting to put him in a dynamic pose, as he is Spider-Man, and I have in the past, as the figure does have good articulation, much like the smaller Spidey figures. However, there are some differences with this version having ratchet joints, which are both positive and negative in some aspects. All in all though, this figure and diorama base is amazing. You can see how cool the body proportions look, and I do really love this unmasked head sculpt. I think if you're a Tom Holland Spider-Man fan and you have the means and the space, this guy can be a true standout in your collection space. Okay guys, let's move on to the second 1/4 scale piece to enter the collection. The Mandalorian and Grogu Deluxe set. This release was a must for me from the get-go when he was announced. Mando was one of my favourite characters, and the way I collect is, I like to build shrines and I dig having multiple versions of my favourite characters. In fact, I'm actually in the process of setting up my Mandoverse display, where this big guy is at the centre with all of the 1/6 scale figures posed up around him, much like a movie poster or a collage. For this first display option, I have him in a simple standing pose, having him as if he's slowly reaching for his pistol. It's a I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold type of display. As we get closer in, you can see the body proportions are also really good, and with all of his accessories and movable pieces, the base included, there are a ton of display options. I love the pram for Grogu, and this version of Grogu is legit the best version I've seen. He can fully articulate, as well as having swap out pieces like hands and ears. As you see here too with the weathering, it is cool. Unfortunately though, after seeing the Chrome Mando, I do wish they made this version Chrome too. Maybe one day if I ever get the courage, I'll try painting the armor Chrome, as I have seen other people do it and they've made it look awesome. Either way, loving this guy. Now, taking a look at the second display option. I'm making use of the massive gun that comes with the base, and I have him holding his rifle, with Grogu standing this time, looking out at us, the viewer, as if he's about to use the Force on us. This display takes up less space, as the gun isn't poking out at the back like it was in my first display. And I have removed the pram so it's a lot tighter and more condensed, because you can do that. Sometimes I feel if I'm not utilizing any of the accessories though, it can be a waste of them, so I regularly switch up poses and incorporate different things to keep it fresh. Whilst the base looks amazing, I love the IG-11 mythosaur and helmet down the bottom, I do wish there was a bit more surface space up top to pose on. It is quite difficult to do any crazy poses on there, and he can do it, especially with the rigid plastic crotch holder as well. In saying that though, I have in the past been able to do some cool looks for him on this base. Feel free to check out my posing showcase I made previously, which is out on the channel already, for other display options for this release. Now let's take a look at the Prodigal Son, my third quarter scale purchase, Iron Man Mark 42 from Iron Man 3. I still remember seeing this movie in the cinema and loving the design of this suit and the role it played in the film. So due to never picking up the 1/6 version, when I saw this was being re-released, I opted to go for this iteration, and I'm glad I did. I had to have a representation of this suit and the part it played in my collection, so finally got it in hand. The details are fantastic on this guy. In fact, I don't think I've even been able to capture how cool the suit and paintwork is on camera, to be fair. That was a surprise to me when I unboxed him. Another cool thing about this release is all the switch out battle damage pieces that you get for an alternative look. That's a nice touch. He's very poseable and you can pretty much do anything you want with him, which is awesome. One negative I do have for this release though is it's the base. There's not enough surface area for my liking, not to mention it only comes with the crotch holder. I really wish it had a flight pole so you could do more dynamic aerial poses. He is Iron Man after all. On to display option number 2. This for me is my current preferred display option for this guy. I love the battery accessory in the open helmet face sculpt. I've also added all the battle damage pieces on, and I chose this look of him just simply standing there, looking off, as it reminds me of the movie and everything Tony went through in his personal journey in it. I feel like we got a lot of Tony in that movie and his journey, and I really enjoyed that. I really tried hard to get him looking natural here too. Well, as natural as you can get a guy standing in a metal suit, I guess. With the look, I love how the cables of the battery slide up into the armor there. I think that's really cool. Oh, and one thing I haven't shown you is quite a few pieces that open up on the armor, revealing mechanics of the suit and weaponry, which is also great. I may in fact try to get this guy permanently lit up at some point, because those pieces that open up have blue LEDs, and I think they let off a cool glow when you have it lit up in a dark room. It looks really cool. Finishing up with the open helmet head sculpt, I think it's got good detail. I love the big scratches on the faceplate that comes with it. The blood effect is good, and it definitely looks like his head in a helmet proportion wise. All in all, I think it's a great unique release, and I'm super happy to have it. Moving on to the fourth 1/4 scale to join the collection, The Dark Knight. This is the recent release, as you can see with the new diorama base he comes with. I love the Dark Knight trilogy. In fact, it's one of my main lines I'm focused on collecting currently, so when this was announced, I couldn't resist. I actually only just got this guy in as well, so this is the first look I'm taking at him as well, literally at the same time I'm filming this. I've gone the classic simple Batman standing there brooding pose, and to be honest, I have no worries leaving him in this stance because the presence of that in person alone is awesome. For me as well, I have him posed up high, so when I walk up to view him in my collection room, he's up high looking down over the room like the watchful guardian he is. So far in my limited time checking this guy out, I can say he has good weight, again great proportions, good paintwork, decent cape, and a pretty good posability, even though I don't think I'll make use of that. For the head sculpt, the posable eyes are awesome. I love having that option, and the 3 switch out faceplates give plenty of expressions to play with. He's an absolute beast, and I'm loving it. Okay, moving on to look number 2. I've now turned the base around to show this epic display option with the 3 big villains from the trilogy, which I actually prefer to the eagle side. And I do love how they've given us 2 different display options with the base. That's really cool, and I hope they do more of that. It's also easier to have him standing more naturally on this side of the base as well, and that's welcomed because the other side it's a bit hard to get him standing properly with the ridges on top of the base. I don't like that part. I've then popped on the Bruce Wayne sculpt, which I think may be the best Christian Bale likeness I've seen to date. Then I've switched out his hands and I have him holding a batarang in the right, one of the many accessories that come with him, because again with the quarter scale figures we get heaps of accessories. For Batman though, I do like the simple look where less is more for me. He's actually one of the figures where I love a standing, brooding look, which for me is lucky because unfortunately, the downside for this figure is the ankles. They are quite weak on mine and I know it to be common for other people too. It's a shame because everything else about this piece is amazing. I mean, the details, proportions, display options, it's absolutely fantastic. Okay, finally, last but not least, my final and fifth 1/4 scale piece in the collection so far, the marvelous Mark IV with gantry. I only just received this guy at this point of filming this video too, so these are the very first poses straight out the box whilst I experiment with how to display this guy. I'm blown away by the presents, guys. Already I can tell you as an Iron Man collector, this piece is a true centerpiece to be displayed in a prime position in your collection room. I'm talking out in the open where you can walk around to be able to view it from all angles, especially when all complete and what I think is the ultimate way to construct this setup in the next display option. But this is how the suit looks just standing here. I'm actually more impressed with the design of this suit now having it in hand than I did when I was watching it in the film. I think it's the torso and chest shape that I'm digging the most. He's quite Jack looking. Even his leg armor design is one of my favorites. But for this piece, having the huge gantry diorama base with it, I really think requires you to recreate the suit up scene. It's just too iconic to ignore, so let's take a look at it. Starting with all of the moving pieces. From the feet up, we get lots of movable parts like the back of the calves here, all which have blue LEDs in them to light up. I also love how even the bottom parts of the base can interact with the suit quite well to give that extra bit of detail. You can actually see them interacting with the suit as if they're pulling it apart or putting it together. Moving up to the back of the gantry, there's so much going on here. Lots of flaps and mechanical detail underneath, and again with the blue LEDs illuminating from within. That's why I think you need to be able to view this in 360 degrees as there is so much going on with it. Then we come around to what I think is one of the best viewing angles, which is this angle here. I like this because you can see everything a bit better opposed to front on where depending on the angle, the chest plate holder can get in the way sometimes. I've also popped open some of the hidden weapon accessories, including all the ones on the forearms, and switched out the head sculpt to show the open faceplate to complete the look, which I think is great. Even with all the awesome posability though and the many different switch outs and accessories this guy comes with, I'm really content leaving him displayed like this. This is truly the best display option for this guy, I think, so this is how he's going to stay for me for now. I may in the future do another video where I experiment with posing up the Mark IV to see what cool looks we can get, as his proportions are second to none, so stay tuned for that. And that's it, guys and girls. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and maybe got some inspiration for your own displays. I thank you all for tuning in, and if you haven't already done so, do us a favor and hit that like button, notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want a little more, consider becoming a channel member and joining the Iron Legion. We have a closed Facebook group and do once a month live hangouts where we chat and pose up figures for fun. Lastly, we got reviews and unboxings, story theme posing showcases, display tips and tricks, plus live streams including the rundown where we deep dive into film and TV. But for now, until next time, I'm out.